Hey, what's up going on? Welcome back to a brand new video. We got my grandma and grandpa going to view them about the childhood. There you go. Enjoy.
It all started in Long Island, New York. I came into this world 6th of November 1938, and the first living memory I have is balancing up on the bar on my crib with my feet wrapped around the spokes, and I'm pulling crap out of my diaper and throwing it up on the wall. And I was like painting the wall with brown. Anyway, that was the creative part of me. And from there, I finally got out of that crib, and I started crawling around the store because my parents had a candy store and we lived in the back of it. And the first thing I did was I got into the case where all the candy was stored, and I am getting sick in there, eating fudge, crawling around in my diaper. But anyway, little time went on, and I'm getting a little bit older, and by now I'm probably about 2 years old, and I can remember my dad running across Jericho Turnpike, the street that our store was on. And it seemed like he was the fastest runner there was in the world. When I held his hand and we were running, my feet would virtually take off, and for every time he took a step, my legs would go 3 or 4 times in the air. And I think then, probably the next...
Grandpa, it's Grandma's turn now.
No, it isn't. You said 10 minutes.
No. You got 5 minutes, Grandma's got 5 minutes.
Oh, good.
Okay, well, I started my life in Bedford, Indiana in December 1940. I was born at home. I guess it was cold, and we had a warm morning stove, and my sister told my mother she was cold. So my mother told her to go warm her hands by the fire. And
I got in trouble.
And so she put her hands on the stove and burnt them, which she always blamed me for, even when we got to be in our 40s. Now, so anyway, I was the youngest of 4 children, and probably the most horrible thing I did as a child, when I was about 6 years old, we had to walk to school every day, and it was about a mile away. And I was never ready on time. So my brothers and my sister would be walking down the street, and I got so far behind them one day, I just decided I was going to go back home. So I went back home, and then I didn't know what I was going to do. So I heard my mother come home about noontime, and she's calling the police. So I figured I'd better hide. So I get in this great big old box of old clothes, and I get down in there. So my mother goes all through the house looking for me. And she's just frantic with worry, and she's crying. And they've sent the police out to search the parks. And so finally that afternoon, all my brothers and my sister come home. And my oldest brother, comes upstairs. He goes into this big old closet, and he finds me in there in that box. And he starts yelling, "She's in here! She's in here! I found her, that little rascal!" And so my mother was not very happy with me. She got a switch out. You know what a switch is?
Nope.
It's a piece of a tree. It's all green, and it stings like crazy.
Tinker, no.
She switched my legs till they were red marks all over them. But I guarantee you one thing, that was the last time I went and hid in a box from school instead of going to school.
Okay, Grandma, keep going about you because we got 6 minutes left.
Me?
No, Grandma, one more, Grandpa, and then you can take over for the rest. Grandma, you can go tell a few more about your childhood. Grandpa, you can take over for the rest of your childhood.
And then when I was 8 years old, my father died. And so my mother thought it would be, she didn't really know how she was going to take care of all of us. And she had a whole lot of bills to pay from when my father was sick. So she took us out to West Virginia and put us in an orphanage. And then she went back to Indiana to work so she could pay off the bills. So the orphanage was a really scary place. They had roaches in there. They had spiders in there. And the first night we were there, they go and they comb your hair to see if you have lice. And of course I didn't have any lice. And they wash you down in lye soap. And they put my sister and I in the bathtub together. And we had never taken a bath together. We always respected each other's privacy at home. You know, she had her bath and I had my bath. There we are in this bathtub. And anyway, they scrub us down and then they take us and put us in these little twin beds in this little room. My sister's crying and crying. And I'm going, oh man, this is terrible. Anyway, I was really scared. Because when I pulled my covers back, there was a big spider in the bed. But then I realized that, yeah, I was really afraid of spiders anyway. So life in the orphanage was anything but pleasant. But I did manage to have a few good times in the summer months. We would pitch a little tent and we would sit out there and we'd make up stories about what we were going to do in the future. Of course, I was going to be a ballet dancer. And I was going to entertain people all over the world with my beautiful dancing. But that never really happened. But it was fun to think about. Even when I was 11, we moved to Albany, Kentucky. And there, be it as we were in this real religious orphanage, we had to wear long sleeves and long skirts, long hair, and no jewelry and no makeup. Of course, I didn't wear makeup then anyway, but the long dresses and that were really different from what everybody else wore. And I was really embarrassed that I had to go around wearing these long dresses. So I used to wear my coat to school every day, and I would sit there with my coat on all day long because I didn't want anybody to see this ugly dress I had on. But finally, by the time I was 12 or 13, I didn't have to wear those long dresses anymore. And not sure if I'd cut my hair by then. I think I was about 13 when I cut my hair. And it was real long. It came all the way down my back. So, and I wore pigtails, which, you know what pigtails are? Braids. I braided my hair, 2 big braids, one on each side. And I could do that really good.
And then the rest of your childhood?
And then the rest of my childhood, I thought I was grown up. So when I was 14, I got married. So that is the end of my childhood.
You wanted there at 14. Grandpa, you tell the rest of your childhood.
Let's see. So, living in a stationery store, which was half candy store, half ice cream store. I got off on the wrong kind of diet. But the other thing that my dad had in there was he had lots of toys, and he had airplanes, model airplanes that he could build, and he had a model airplane club in our basement. And so people would come to our store that belonged to the model airplane club, and they were all building their planes, and my dad would sell the planes to them. So we were always talking about airplanes, and my dad started taking me out to Roosevelt Airfield, which was a military airfield during the Second World War. So we were fighting Germany and Japan.
And what year were you born in?
I was born in 1938, and so this is now 1942, 43, 44, during the Second World War. And I've got pictures of, he had me sitting on the wing of an airplane, and I just loved airplanes. So, let's see. And then my next door neighbors from the candy store, they had a pizza parlor and a beer joint. And so their parents would make pizza for people. And the boy's name was Bobby and Anna. And then he would invite me over and we'd go climb up on the top of the bar during the day. and we get the soft dough that they make the pizzas out of it, and we would just eat it raw. And my mother would be so upset with me for eating all that junk. When I got home, she'd give me an enema to try to get all that out of me. And so that's he's about 5 years old. And finally, my dad sold, the other thing that we did in the store is my dad was a gambler.
3 minutes left.
You didn't do that to Grandma.
Well, no, 3 minutes left until the video was done,
Yeah.
until I do the outro.
My dad was a gambler. So he had my mom running the store, and people would call in on the telephone and ask her to place bets on different horses. And so that kind of impacted our living standard. So we finally moved out of there, and we moved to New Jersey into the low-cost government housing project.
And what year was that?
That was in 1943.
Sorry, everybody, for the cat interruption.
That was 1943, and we moved into the project.
That was a big lightning. I got that on video.
Yeah. And I started to grammar school at public school 18. Now the school...
That shook the whole house.
The school was a mile away from where we lived. I had no idea how to even get to school. I'm 5 years old.
Grandma, don't get up.
And my mother pointed me in the right direction going to school, and she told me to follow the other kids. At 5 years old, I'm following them, and I walked to school with the girl next to me. And along the way, we got kind of lost, ended up in an army camp, and the army guys gave us pencils and notebooks.
Well, yeah, because they're nice.
They were nice. And then we made it to school.
Passport.
And I walked into the wrong room. I went into the girls' gym. I was supposed to go in the boys' gym. And this big 8th grade girl walks over and she said, "Hey kid, what are you doing there?" I said, I don't know. I'm just trying to go to kindergarten."
Oh, God.
And she says, "Get out of here." Whoop.
Okay, what about when you were 12? Let's get there.
When I was 12 years old, I was living out in Midland Park, and I had my paper route. I had 67 customers, and I'd fill my bicycle up, and I'd pump up the hills and glide down hills, and we had soapbox derby races that we did, and me and my buddy Dave Galloway trapped muskrats and sold their furs to Sears Roebuck. In the winter, we ice skate on Maple Lake, and in the summer, when I got to be 14, I became a lifeguard over there. Life was wonderful living in that town.
1 minute.
And my job was just to take care of all the outs, mow the lawn, shovel the snow, weed the garden. And anyway, life was beautiful, living there on Madison Avenue.
What about when you were 17? Just 30 seconds of that.
17. Well, I bought my first car. I bought it for $10. It was a 1938 Plymouth from Harry Knapp. He and I worked at the dog kennel together, and he was older. So I bought it for $10. I drove it for a year, and then I sold it for $5.
Grandpa, come on.
That's it.
Okay, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to the video, all your friends. If y'all really liked it, like the video, and we'll maybe do a part 2, right?
Hey, sounds good. I love it. Thanks, Jake. That is wonderful.
Okay, Grandma, what do you think?
What do I think about what?
The video.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Well, you talked. You were the video. Oh, thanks for watching. There's a thunderstorm going on in the background. And that cat was naughty, and the cat's name was Tinka, if you're wondering.
We are.
Bye.
Bye.